Oh, we're already live. Good morning, and welcome to your business and digital. Super excited to be here. How are you guys doing this morning? Happy Monday.
Monday.
Look at you.
I don't know that I'll go that far, Andrea, but happy
Because,
Monday. Happy Monday.
she's shifting because we get to do this every Monday. We should be
I
so
know.
happy. She's shifting. Whether she means it or not is two different things. She's following instructions. I love that. Michelle, how are you this morning?
I see it's going to be a very interesting Monday morning. I
You
am
know,
well. I am well, ready to get our party started.
all right, cool. Michael, you good?
I am good. Thank you very much. I wasn't that good when I walked outside this morning, so the first had a frost on the car. So I was like,
Oh,
but don't say anything else. We still have some time. We still have a little time.
living in Canada, so
No, it
no,
doesn't.
okay.
It's just a cold. Just a cold.
No, Canada is an amazing place. Okay, so no, I don't want the
Don't come
Canadian.
forward, people. Don't come forward.
First, I live in Florida, so it's all sunshine. That's all I'm saying. Do not come for us. All right. Too much. Let's get the show started and let's kick it off. Let's go. Oh man, love that. Still doing all kinds of funky in the background. All right. Well, let me get the housekeeping out of the way because I know we have a jam-packed Michael show today. So connect with us. Connect with us everywhere. Podcasts are. We are on Apple, Spotify, all the places. But definitely connect with us. We are live on YouTube. We are live on LinkedIn. This show is called Your Business in Digital. And what we do here at Your Business in Digital is we really help executive teams, right? The CMOs, the CFOs, the CEOs really help think about how to connect their business goals back to digital and how to get that executed, right? We know that digital can be daunting. So we want to be in a space where we are saying to you, hey, here's how these goals that you have to achieve every quarter, here's how your digital efforts can get you to that place of increasing revenue by 10%, increasing revenue by 20%. So the show gives you the foundation of digital. What are the things that you need to know in order to connect those dots? What are things you need to know when you're working with an agency? So check out the show, subscribe, YouTube, LinkedIn, and again, everywhere podcasts are. All right. So we got that out of the way. So we're going to do a quick recap, and I'm going to kick it over to Michael to do our recap this week.
Thank you.
Recap. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go for
Thank
it.
you. Well, we had a really exciting week last week, and we ended the week. So if you haven't followed us, 20 minutes of the YBID wrap up on a Friday. We talked about AIs and CRMs. And I took a look at HubSpot and some of the new features we're looking at inside of HubSpot. Generating your blogs, generating keywords, making sure that you can see what's the search volume attached to some of the keywords that you're using. And a lot of key areas in sales and service as well, where AI, the layering of AI is now going to help you do things a little faster. We talked about things like if you are doing handoffs in your service industry, it can do a summary of all the conversations with that one client. Everywhere that you've talked to that client, you can now say, well, okay, I'm going to hand this over to tomorrow. What tomorrow is like, I can't go through all of these communications, to get understand where we've been, but you can get a summary. So a lot of different places where AI, and we literally looked at it. I did a bit of show and tell as to where AI is, where it is in the platform, and what do you use it for. So great week. If you missed it, definitely go back, catch the recaps. Oh, we got to shift our seats around a little bit. We came back like musical chairs.
Only shifting us around. So listen, I love that you are doing this show. You did the show on your own. What are you doing?
Listen, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. And thanks for everyone who joined in. I got some comments, so that felt good.
Yeah. So it's funny because every Friday I'm like, every Friday I'm like, can you do it on your own? Because I forgot about it, or I have this going on. And he's just like, okay. So slowly it's becoming the Michael show. But I'm like, leave my picture up there though, just in case.
Just in case, just in case, just in case.
Right. Vain much anyway. So, all right.
We go
So
from the Michael never wanting to be up front to being up front all the time now. I've loved
yeah,
how this has progressed over
gotta
the
keep,
last 2 years, Michael.
Thank
yeah.
you. Listen, everyone, visibility, counts. It absolutely counts. So, do whatever you need to do, but work it out. That's what my boss tells me.
Do you want to? It really doesn't matter. But I think you have the gifts, right? So it's important that we understand that. And as we're building the Monovan digital brand, I want it not to just to be my voice. Right? I want to hear people to hear the voices of my team members, right? Wait till we start getting Mia and Chantel on the show. They're like, never. But I think there's value in that. So it's now two people carrying the message forward, different perspectives. And then, we both have our appeal, so, and you're kicking butt. So I'm excited that you're doing it and that you have, you've embraced it. I know it is difficult. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I celebrate you. Is there an emoji for that? That's gonna be my I celebrate you emoji. All right. Okay. So it's Monday, so we have our hot topics. I'm always excited about the hot topics. What I love about it is I never know what it is. Who is doing? Michelle, you're doing hot topics today. So what are we talking about?
I am doing hot topics, and today we are talking about a traditional way of doing business going up against the Goliath in the digital space these days. And it is directly related to college bookstores who were getting to be in a space where they were almost extinct to a place where they have remodeled and reconsidered and finding a way to compete with Amazon, bring their business back to their home turf, and move forward in this space and day and age of digital and complete me now. Nia, if you don't mind going to the next slide. So what we're looking back at is for those of us that are just a little slightly older than some right now, you may remember when we went to college, it was going to the bookstore on campus to get your books for your classes, whatever schedule you have for that semester. Well, over the course of life moving to the digital space and Amazon coming to the front, they've learned over the course of time that they were lost and behind with their own internal clients, and they were moving to Amazon. So they have, over the course of the last years, have re-engineered their model to compete with Amazon. Now, if you don't mind going to the next slide, Nia, what this model is labeled as inclusive access, and they've partnered with Inclusive Access and a couple of other companies that will allow them to meet their clients where they are, and their clients being the students at their school. And what they're doing is, with this model, allow what Amazon is filling a need for right now, and that is convenience, affordability, and more important, timely delivery and speed to market for their clients. What they were finding is that the course information would come out, students would elect a course. However, on campus, they were not able to get the materials that they needed in a timely fashion for their classes, and it wasn't convenient. It was time delayed. They had to do a lot of hunting and finding for it in the light of COVID and delays with production, and they just didn't have the materials that they needed for the classes, and sometimes were 2 weeks into sessions and not having what they needed. However, what they've done is they've re-engineered things, and with Inclusive Access, they now have things that are now inclusive with auto tuition, with their tuition, so it's now included automatically, and that helps a bunch of their students because it's also included in financial aid and covered there. It's affordable because they've put it at the right price. They've partnered with the makers of the books that are needed, including digital, and they priced it at a place that's competitive with Amazon because there is bulk purchasing, and they're making sure because they're selecting their classes in time, they have the materials that they need before the first class starts. And that was a big deal for them that allowed them to make things not only accessible and meet every demand that their client had, but they also allowed themselves to repackage things a bit so that they are more than competitive with their primary competitor, Amazon. It's really interesting. Now, Nia, if you don't mind going to the next slide, here are the ways that this has become really important through of materials that were purchased on campus at the bookstore had declined to about 30%. Over the course of the last years, this has increased and moved back up and is at the 80% mark right now. Students are now purchasing on campus in their home and keeping the money on campus within the university and college that they're in. So much so that the annual revenue has, or the purchase revenue has increased to $1.4 billion. So in the crazy space of digital and the age where things are going, this is really relevant because this was almost extinct. It was at the space where they were handing over the business to an outside party and losing revenue on campus. Now, how does this relate to small business owners? Well, I believe that for us, this is a relevant place for us to think about this because we are encountering many of these things in our small business world. The first place is embrace innovative models. You have to stay competitive and be willing to adapt to the changing consumer preference. Again, once upon a time, you used to be able to get one-stop shopping. You walk into the campus bookstore, you go into the area, find the book or whatever you need for your session, pick it up, walk to the stand. Again, I'm aging myself. Purchase your books and you're set and ready to go. Now everything is available and timely delivered, up to and including digital books that are use for the student during the time of the class. Focus on value and convenience. For a small business owner, this is really relative because it's going to help you to retain and attract more clients, but more importantly, it will help you to combat the competitive landscape. We have to be also willing to adapt to market shifts. We have to be relevant and profitable. And by adapting to what the market is asking, one, re-engineering any collaboration that you have, understanding what may differentiate you from the pack will allow you to adapt and to change and to stay relevant in this ridiculously crazy time. The fourth piece is leverage your partnerships. What they were able to do with inclusive access was to offer unique service that their competitors cannot easily replicate. The primary thing is that they included it with their tuition. That is something that they're catching on the front end. It appeals to parents and the students. Well, I don't have to think about this. I don't have to go somewhere else looking for it. You're telling me that I'm going to be convened. I'm going to be made equally available by giving it to me on the front end, and you're going to make sure it's either digitally delivered to me, or I'm going to be able to pick it up right in my home and not have to worry about things. So they offered something that it's going to be really difficult for Amazon to compete against. And for the fifth one, consider the customer perspective. This one is huge. As time has evolved, as the environment has changed, we need to consider when we implement something, how is that new business strategy going to be beneficial to our consumer who is going to benefit from the other side of it? And is it going to meet their needs? So what's their pain? How are we going to resolve it? And are we going to do it in a timely and affordable fashion? In this way, they actually met and exceeded their clients' needs and put something on the table that is really competitive against Amazon. And we know how difficult that can be in this environment. They have a model and a reach that is really difficult to beat. And on campus, in this college setting where things are typically way behind as far as innovation is concerned, they figured out a way to keep it at home, find a way to differentiate themselves and find their lanyard. There's something extra, and to bring that money back home into their internal pockets. So That is it. I thought this was a good one for a small business to understand because it meets us, especially those with a product. They're going against Amazon every day on a daily basis globally.
Yeah, no, love that. Yeah, 100%. I also it takes me back to the niching conversation that Andrea had the other day, right? Because it's like it just kind of hits the mark. It's such a niche, and Amazon doesn't cater to the niche really, right? They kind of have categories, but they understood what their students, what the parents, they understood the things that mattered, so they were able to hone in and focus in on that niche and create something of value to them. So I this was awesome.
Indeed, indeed, and leveraging those partnerships really key. I thought the same thing as Tamara said, that immediately I went back to that niche conversation. You're going against Amazon that just sells books to everyone. And, here you are with a captive audience. So you should be capitalizing, you should be seeing your return on it, right?
They should. They should. And think of the number of businesses that are also affected by the lack of, but now have the ability to keep it on campus. There were other book providers that were losing additional revenue to Amazon because there was an additional margin that they had to provide to them. But now that they've cut the deal directly through this access, they're able to maintain a bit more of their margins. They're producing more of the books. They are giving direct access to it on campus, and because they have the inside track in understanding what the course curriculum requires for that moment, they are getting it in advance and saying, okay, does this now need to be a digital component? Is it something that they're going to purchase or rent? So they understand how much more they need to produce or maintain in within their stock. And that helps them to understand what their flow through. They're able to bring more money and identify quicker what's at the bottom line because it's easier to predict. So everybody stays a bit more whole because they've figured out how to re-engineer this with a collaboration. So very, very key. We talked about that here in this space pretty much every show. Every show.
I mean, I just love the numbers, of course. I mean, they turned the whole campus economy around, right? That 80% increase, 1.4 billion in revenue. They really flipped the whole script on its head and really went in the other direction and turned the whole campus economy around and able to that is truly a successful strategy. So of course the numbers impressed me. I really like what they did with that.
And think about the foot traffic that's going through the campus bookstore in that building. So if there are any other business in that place that are offering any other services, that foot traffic will allow their revenues to grow as well and capture them and have things done within under that one building. So I think it is multifaceted. It's not just for the health and wealth of that campus bookstore and making sure that revenue comes in, but all of the thriving that was missing that is now available because there are other businesses that can capitalize off of this and remain whole and grow because of that one change to one business model against a Goliath. It is a Goliath.
Go for it, Tamara. A true David and Goliath story.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. This was a good one. These y'all bring the hot topics, man. I'm always excited to hear it. And I really love, again, I feel like when I'm looking at the hot topics, it's very much outside looking in. I look at it as someone that would be watching our show, and the points that how you tie back to everything that we're doing, how it connects back to a small business, a media business, and things that they should be considering as well, and giving them really practical examples of ways to really, really grow their revenue, right? So it's how do you take these things and make them super practical? So this was really, really awesome. All right, I know like Nia's in the background, like time check, time check, time check. Where are we on time? So full production here. All right, so we are great hot topics again, and now we're moving on to our segments. Go beyond the light. Can I have the da da da? Don't we have a da 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 da? A little bit more dramatic flair, please, ma'am. That was good. So that's the sound for Go Beyond the Likes going forward, FYI. All right. So today on Go Beyond the Likes, we are talking about outsourcing digital marketing, the key to scaling your business. And super excited about this one today. It's going to be a good conversation. Mike, I'm going to kick it over to you to own this conversation because he really worked on this. Him and Nia got this together. And so I'm going to kick it over to you to start the conversation and, maneuver us back and forth. So go for
All
it.
right, let's go for it. Really excited about this conversation this morning. So again, thanks everyone who's joining us. If you're just tuning in, happy Monday again. We are talking outsourcing your digital marketing services. So the first question we want to answer is, when is digital marketing, when is it right to outsource digital marketing for your business? Of course, there's no set answer, right? There's a number of variables that can go in. Of course, I love to go around the room and hear, well, what does everyone at this table think? Well, we are digital marketer, but if we weren't, when would we decide to, outsource our digital marketing services? Sometimes you might be looking at limited in-house expertise. You may be looking at cost efficiency. You want to focus on your core competencies. It may be as simple as that. Or maybe you have very special cases where you're doing something very specific during the year and you need a marketing agency just to handle, say, over the course of an event. So I'll let everybody chime in because that's when we started. That's where we're starting this conversation. When is it right for you to outsource?
Yeah, I definitely think outsourcing when you don't have the expertise and you're spending that money, right? We talk about that on the show all the time. You're putting out money for marketing and you don't have the expertise. So that's wasted money. You're not looking at the right KPIs. So I think it's important, especially as you're scaling your business and you're seeing more and more revenue go towards marketing, and you need to start to see that return. So it's time to work with an agency, get a strategy in place, and connect those dots back to your goals so you can truly then say, here's what digital is doing for me, right? It's always the what have you done for me lately situation.
What I would say is you work with these people, you work with agencies when you yourself have a clear strategy and could answer the questions, meaning when you know exactly where you're taking the business, when you probably have things like a vision or you have things like goals, because when they turn around and start to ask the questions of, well, what is it you're trying to achieve, if you can't answer, then the activities that they're going to generate for you not going to make sense. So I actually think it's about when you yourself can answer the questions as it pertains to your own strategy and your goals for your business, is when you one of the factors that you would invite the consideration of outsourcing. And of course, then you do your cost benefit analysis. But I think the very first thing has to be when you can answer those questions.
Oh, wow. This one's a big one for me. Just from where we started, from a sales perspective, that if you don't have your sales journey set up, the things that we spoke about for the last two seasons and definitely the last couple of shows, and knowing who your audience is and what you have to sell, who you are, and what the client journey is, bringing an outside agency into your world is wasted money because you have not defined who you are and where you want your clients to go. So all of that money will be wasted because you're not going to convert a sale. They won't have an idea of the messaging and who your brand voice is and who your client is that they need to bring in and what they need to say to attract that client into your world if you've not defined those components of your business and where you want them to take you and what that yes answer needs to be. What's that yes? They need to get that yes out there for you. But if you haven't defined it for them, then they can't bring that world to you.
I'm going to add to that too. Well, and I'm going to kind of debate you ladies a little bit because, I'm just here for fun.
I got it started this morning. That's only point number one. Please keep in mind.
Right. An agency should actually be able to help you with that, right? Because sometimes the goals 100%, but your customer journey from a digital standpoint, because that's exactly what we do, the customer doesn't necessarily understand what their infrastructure should be, but they understand their business business. And in them understanding their business, we can take that and craft a digital journey that makes sense for them. So when a CMO or CFO is thinking about this, they already have a plan in place, right? So an executive team has a plan in place. And so taking that and digitizing it is where really, as an agency, you should be looking to say, hey, we can help you with step one. We can help you get to that place. We can't define your business goals for you, but we can really help pull all those pieces together, because sometimes they don't understand how to do that and how to get to that point, right?
I agree to a point. To a point. Yes, the marketing agency is there to bring that into my reality, to bring that client in, but it is my job to tell the marketing agency that I have this product and this service that I'm trying to sell. This is the order that I see that I want this to be sold, and how I want it cross sold, and where I want this my revenue to go. And it's my job to ask and to give the marketing agency as much information for them to say, all right, based upon what you're saying, here's what the numbers are saying. Here's what the data is saying, where to find these people, where to the best money can be spent to bring them into your world. To be out, that's probably a question. How do we, but to help to debate these kind of points, just as we're doing here, and to help us to be healthy. So yes, that is absolutely true, that from a digital aspect, it is the marketing agency's responsibility and onus to help us to figure that out. But if I don't tell you what I have to sell, why I'm trying to sell it in a specific place, and what I'm trying to do to move my business forward, bringing that client and giving them that right journey, I think it can't happen if I don't understand and define that for my business and know who my brand is and what my voice needs to be for you to put it out there.
I got to rein y'all in. Y'all are like going through my points, super fast, because we're going to touch on all of those things. And Andrea made a good point, and we're going to get into that as far as, when it's right. Michelle absolutely agreed. Tamara absolutely agreed, because all these situations are valid. So just going back to that first question of when to outsource, there are a number of different scenarios, but we know that you may be thinking of it. And this is why I'm saying that you're really bitten into this topic. So here's what the second question is. Do you need a full service agency, a boutique agency, or specialized services? So that gets to the heart of, you may not know what you want initially. If you're a CMO or sales director or marketing professional, you may know exactly what you need, and you may know that it doesn't exist in-house, right? If you are you meeting, you may be thinking, well, okay, I'm already doing some marketing internally, but it's not quite meeting my needs. And are my needs holistic or specific? And maybe you're not sure what's the best approach to take. You just need a consultation. You need an assessment of sorts. So that first point of, I think we fall, I think I absolutely know Tamara's side, where a lot of the times we think we know what we need. And I liken this to going to the doctor. I think I have a cold, but I don't know that I have a cold. I'm not a doctor, right? Even though it presents with all the same things. And digital marketing can be the same way. So I may say that, hey, listen, the problem that I'm having is with my social media. But we look at it and we say, no, that's not your problem. Your problem is actually something else. So defining that, and I'm going to kick it over to Tamara. First, that one question, what do you need? And thinking about it from, so yes, taking into account what Andrea said, I have my goals and stuff, but I don't know. I'm not a digital marketer. I'm not that professional. How do I know what I need? Tamara, what's your thoughts there?
So I think it's really understanding what you don't know what you need. You may have a high level diagnosis if you understand your numbers, but it's really about getting with the agency that makes the most sense, right? So for instance, let's define those things, right? A full service agency, they're doing everything, right? They're ad buy, this placement, they have everything you can think of. They probably have a full team that's working with you, all those things. Specialized agencies may focus in on SEO, may focus in on specific key areas. They're like, oh, video streaming. Deborah was here with us the other day. She does video streaming. And then a boutique agency is really where they're coming in to look and isolate your specific issue and then build a strategy around that, right? Sometimes the full service agencies are a little bit bigger, so they're dealing with, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and you may have hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you may have thousands of dollars to spend. And sometimes they're putting you in places that are, where their focus may be more brand awareness. And you may be saying, hey, I have this $50,000 budget, but I need to be more conversion focused. And I need a diagnosis and a plan to move forward. So the boutique agency can also work with you to help you get to that place of, if we need someone that's a little bit more specialized in this for this specific strategy, you kind of bring that person in. Are you looking for a video specific strategy, show production, all those things? So they can help you get to those places. So I think it's really understanding where you are in the business, what you have to spend before you decide which one of those agencies that you want. Now, I don't want to make it seem like the full service agency is horrible. They're not horrible, they're people. But we are a boutique agency, so definitely I played that up quite a bit.
And this is where it's relative to your size, as you said, depending on where you are in your business. So a full service agency, again, are you that, big fish in a little pond, or, little fish in a big pond, and where it's relative to your budget as far as what advice they're doing. So they may action things very quickly. Once you have to be specific what your needs are. I want 30 posts over the course of, and they will deliver it, right? They will absolutely deliver it. Does it absolutely blend into your strategy? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, right? It's not an exact science. So, but I love that answer, Tamara. I think you absolutely explained the different levels of agencies for everyone. So we're looking at, full service, specialized, boutique. And of course, specialized, we're talking about, as you said, SEO, social media services, very specific. So that takes us into our point number 3. How will the agency integrate with your team and your brand? And this is, we kicked this off. You all started to talk about this. I almost was like, yo, stop, please, right? Just in point number 1. But this is really important. This marketing agency is going to operate as an extension of your team. Or is that your intention, for it to be an extension of your team? And in that vein, how are they going to operate? Is their style matching yours? And these are things you want to look at in that consultation phase, that first phase of meeting with an agency. What is their style? Is it transactional? Is it more, feeling? Is it more, well, I want to get into your business. I want to know what are the industry specific things that you deal with. So I think a very important question. I'm going to kick it over to Michelle, because I know Michelle is the people person on this panel. So Michelle, what do you think? How will the agency integrate with your team and your brand? How important is that?
If you want it to succeed, it has to be really high on the list of things that you consider, because you need to bring them into your world. One of the things for our community that's listening here that I hope that you embrace as you're seeking out an agency is the idea that they are really an extension of your team. They are your partner in this, and in that vein, you have to open your world up to them and really take the information out of your brain, out of here, out of the internal talks that you have with your team, and bring them in and put them on the table and let them know who you are and what you are about. The more transparent you are about where you're trying to go, and not putting out the hand up, like the arm's distance away, the more that they are able to help you to achieve your goals and to really integrate into your system and finish the sentence that you have in your head. That's exactly where you want to be with who this marketing agency is. So as you're feeling them out, it can't be a speed dating type of action. It's got to be, no, we need to court each other for a moment and really get to know one another, because the interviewing process is going back and forth on both sides to ensure that you're a good fit, so that they can anticipate what you need. Finish your sentence. Feel like they have known you forever, so that they can help you to be successful and to achieve the goals that you've placed on the table. Again, you got to tell them too. You've got to be open and honest about things. So I think it's a big deal. It's really important and really high on the list. Open the door, allow them in, give them the information.
I love that answer. And I'm going to add to this. when we talk about integrating with your team, you want to think about, as a small business, who is that point of contact and how do they operate with the agency? Super important. Just that basic first level of starting. The reason being is because the tendency is that you've gotten a marketing agency and you literally hand off to the marketing agency, right? And you think they're doing everything and you go back to what you're doing. But it has to be a back and forth between the client and the agency. That means on your side, you've got to have that dedicated person or persons. And then you've got to give them that feedback loop within your own company as well. So that the marketing agency, a lot of times what can happen is that you end up working, you meet with the marketing agency, you're working on that project, but you only take it back internally when it's 60 or 70% of the way done. And then the rest of the company suddenly, oh, I didn't know that that was the direction. I don't think we want that direction. We want a different direction. So again, when we think integrating with your team, operationally, what does that look like? You're going to have to assign those resources that is, 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, that meets with the marketing agency. So I love that I'm getting all the nods. Like, she's like, yes, yes. So you want to make sure that that integration is on that level as well. So yes, there's fields, yes, there's that personal touch, but what does it look like operationally?
And I invite you to not be the solo person at the table when you are feeling out and trying to identify the right agency. Bring others to the table, the people who are actually going to facilitate the work in the long run. They are going to hear the things that you as the owner won't hear. You bring the money person to the table, absolutely, because they will ask those hard questions and make things a lot more comfortable for you and take an angle that you haven't. The person, as Michael said, that will be facilitating the work in the long run will let them know exactly how you operate on the back end. And the salespeople, if you happen to be that person as well, can identify what you are trying to achieve at the end, technically. So it can't be a one person that's giving all of the information to the agencies that you're trying to work with. Everyone has a voice at the table and will be responsible in the long run for the success of that. It's not just the agency that has skin in this game. Your entire team has as well. And if you're bringing them to the table on the front end, they're able to help to understand what we need in order to facilitate what you want on the back end.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And so I'm very these days, because I recently officially launched my brand. I'm very in a brandy place because everything I do now, I question myself as to, is this the brand? Is this your virtual CFO? And um, topics like this is important when the service providers that I'm bringing into my space, are you connecting with my brand on the level that I want you to connect so that the message is going out, right? So definitely, if a service such as digital marketing, you have to make sure that they're connecting with your brand because then the message gets skewed. I'm very particular now about what I'm putting out there because I have to make sure that it's connecting. As simple as when we did the launch, trying to figure out what token to give because I had my thought was it has to be your virtual CFO brand. I can't give you a pen and paper if the word virtual is in my name, right? I can't give you, these traditional things because I'm saying to you, this is a virtual space. So I definitely am connecting with that, knowing your brand. So I think it starts with, and I think it comes back to what I said at the first, if you know your goals, because now I am very clear. Before I wasn't as clear, but now I'm very clear. So I think it still goes back to knowing yourself, knowing your business. And then when you interact with the digital marketer, are they getting the message that you're putting out? Are they understanding what it is? Right. And as Michelle said, you have to date, you have to court, in that consultation call, really ask the questions to see if they're getting it, right? Don't be afraid to ask the questions. I think, yeah, totally connecting with this point.
It's a big point. It's a very big point. So that we're going to keep going into some levels of detail. So that takes us to point number 4. What you need to consider what that agency's approach to data and analytics is. And this is super important because you're coming with, and this is what we're talking about, being clear with what you're coming with. And we could get into that still, but you're coming with your own set of KPIs from your business. What you need to understand when you're talking to the agency and you say, okay, these are my KPIs, these are my goals, the agency is going to say, okay, this is how we measure it in digital. This is how we measure it based on the number of leads, based on the number of emails collected, based on the impressions, based on the website traffic, etc. So you want to know what's the approach. You know, is it the approach to data analytics just giving you, say, hey, here's what the data says, or are they giving you more clear insights? Are they solving problems through the data? Tamara, just come on, soapbox.
So, the data is where we live, right? Because that's really what matters. And I like to get to the heart of the real KPIs. And I think you really hit the nail on the head with the business comes with their KPIs. They measure leads, they measure revenue, they measure number of conferences they've attended, they measure a bunch of different things, right? But you're right. How does that translate to digital, specifically to drive a lead? How does it assist? Because it could be assisting that strategy that is a conference strategy, and you might have emails connected to it after to follow up, because sometimes we forget about those things. So it's looking at so you go to one conference, you meet two people, you have two meetings, and then they buy. What is the digital equivalent of that? Maybe it's you meet them, they're searching on a search engine, they find your ad, they come to your web page, right? So there's an impression there, then there's a click through there, then they fill out a form, right? There's that information. Then they book the meeting, and then they may continue to go down the way after the meeting. Then it's kind of like, hey, a sale happened. So understanding those KPIs, and then understanding what you need to solve for in those KPIs. So your ad may be getting the impressions, but it's not getting the click through. So now working with that agency, they should be saying, hey, we have the right keywords, it's showing up, but we're not getting the click through. What's the information that's showing in the ad, and where do you start optimizing? Because that's important as well, where sometimes we tend to solve for things that's not a problem, right? I remember, hanging out with some folks, and we were talking about something, and one of the gentlemen told me it's easier to do it this way, and I was just like, cool, but I like doing it this way, because it was talking about getting from point A to point B and timing on it. And he kept insisting it was better. And I was just like, well, we're not solving for a real problem, because I'm good with how I get there. I've already optimized. I do this, that. So we're not solving. So sometimes with agencies, we do that. We find the thing that's not the problem, and we stick on this thing, right? And we have to pull back and look to say, in this funnel, where is the real issue? If they did not click, there is an issue with them not clicking. So we need to solve for that first to get them to click to see the other things. So not solving for the problem that doesn't matter, but looking at those KPIs to solve for those KPIs for it to move through that process that it will eventually move through, and understanding where you need to make adjustments. So working with an agency, I think it's really, really critical that they are talking KPIs, and there has to be some education as well. How are they educating you on the KPIs that matter in digital? We talk about going beyond the likes all the time, right? And that's why we do that, because we want you to get beyond those likes and follows to those KPIs that matter, the real KPIs that connect back to the bank.
Go for it, Michelle.
Amen, my sister. Amen. You said so much in that soundbite that I want our listeners to embrace, and for those marketers that are struggling with clients in this space, is keeping them laser focused and tunnel visioned on the matter at hand. No one's saying that those aren't things there aren't things that will pop up that may be things that need to be resolved, but not in this respect. So we've got to be accustomed to parking things as we move along. And two, goes back to something that we said earlier, the more refined that you are about who you are and your processes and getting those things done, the less distracted you will be as you're working with this agency that you're paying to make you money. So get your act together, know who you are, know your processes, and make sure they work before you get into the space, because you're not going to you won't waste time if you do so. So know who you are so that these people can do their job that you're paying them for and make you money.
I hate to add to that again, but I'm going to. The last thing I want to do is fight with you about digital best practices, what my recommendations are. It's just not a place where I want to be. That's always a red flag for me, right? So even as you're working with an agency and understanding these KPIs, there's some education and that some patience that needs to happen as well. And you have to really trust in the expertise. And sometimes as businesses, we don't do that. We don't trust in the expertise. We've gone through it with different clients, right? And as an agency, we have to do our work for them to trust us. And that's why we do this show. This is the trust building exercise. We give you the tools, the tips, all the things to get to that place. But the last thing I want to do is fight with a client to get them the strategy. Understanding best practices are important as well. Agencies should provide you with best practice data points. What does an email click-through rate look like? Because you could be saying, I hear people say this all the time, I don't feel like this is happening. I don't think this is. And it's just kind of like, well, what is the industry standard? And we always go back to industry standards now, right? What is the industry standard for this? So we can set expectations. Are we even hitting those benchmarks? Are we not? Success benchmarks are also key. Failure benchmarks are also key as you're going through this process, because you need to be able to go back and say, if this happens, we do this. If this happens, we switch this and we pivot this. We're never just scrapping it all and starting, right? We're going to look at the thing and we're going to solve for those things in that funnel till we get that thing to be the ideal formula so that you can actually convert people easier. And that is a process.
Because feeling is not a strategy.
It certainly is not. Andrea, I'll give you. I know you have. Just give us a few seconds. Give us.
You all know how I feel about the feelings, right? You can't be catching feelings as a business strategy, right? That's not how you do it. And as we can see, it's not just because I'm a finance person. I'm saying that in all the aspects, there's some sort of number data that must drive you to do what you need to do. So we have to make sure that in each area of the business. So today we're talking about marketing. What are the numbers that are relevant there? When you're talking finance, there are numbers relevant there. So you really have to get away from those words when you're speaking to us as experts. I feel and I think and I like and I no. Tell me what the number is. Say, the number is not right. I'm not making sales, right? Say those things so that now we know, okay, this is where, the issue is. So yeah, please guys, let's not base the strategy on feelings. Let's stop catching feelings, okay?
So you definitely want to look for an agency whose approach to data is that they are data driven, analytics driven, and that they're doing that translation for you. This number means this in terms of human behavior, in terms of human actions, right? That's what they should be describing to you. So when you look at those data, that analytics report at the end of any given period, you understand what actions your customers have not taken and how you are adjusting to suit as far as that ongoing optimization, because nothing we do is, leave it undone. So, okay, I know we all bit in there. Wow. Oh my goodness. What was I thinking with these questions? So next big question, and we're not even at number 7, but what outcomes can you expect from your digital marketing agency? Now we know what outcomes you want. We know that you come in there and you're feeling like, well, listen, again, going back to that reference of going to the doctor. I go to the doctor, I want to leave feeling better. Not that they've cured me right on the spot, but I have a way forward to feeling better as well. So what can you expect? Well, again, it ties back into, and this is what you all were saying earlier in the show, it ties back to your clarity with the agency around your goals. So that's going to tie into what can you expect, because that's going to set the goals for the agency. Is the outcome that you're expecting increased website traffic? Is it improved brand awareness? Is it more leads and sales, or is it higher customer engagement? Are you looking at the service side of your business and thinking, well, listen, I want to improve that. I want to improve my engagement metrics when it comes to service. So a lot of different outcomes, but really based on, again, you, the business, coming to us as an agency and saying, these are our goals. So therefore, again, tying to that data, metrics, KPIs, what outcomes we can expect. And Tamara, all right, take it away.
So yeah, I think this one, I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't know that I could say much more to this, right? You have to, expectations need to be set ahead of the game. And so as we've been growing this business, I've seen it. When we do not set expectations with clients, we start running into problems. Um, if their expertise is something, that's what they bring to the table for digital, right? And so you're kind of like, okay, cool. Well, we need to expand outside of that because we're in a different space. So setting expectations as to, we will see an increase in the right people coming to your site, more relevant traffic as we do this. We will see these things. These are some of the things to look out for. So it's not just only the goal number. It's the, here's how it could feel. It's the customer behavior, right? Which we talked about. We sometimes as businesses approach the interaction with the agency from our goal standpoint only, but that customer behavior says a lot. And that's what the agency is responding to, your customer's behavior. So they're solving for that as they build and optimize your strategy.
And you can also expect that, as you said, you can expect that you're getting process out of this from your marketing agency, right? You can expect that you're getting a framework and an infrastructure that supports your business for a period of time, right? It's not going to be forever. So these are the underlying outcomes we can expect, right? That they have a clear digital map for you to go forward with. That, and then some of these things that we call out here are just the end result of having these in place. You get some education, as Tamara said. Go fit,
Yeah.
Michelle. I see. Go
Just
ahead.
one quick thing I want to add that is part of something that Monovan does really well that I incorporated with my business as well as you're going through the dating phase and you're reiterating what's important to you. Once that deal is signed and you're past implementation and you're in steady state, one of the things that Monovan does and we do is we're constantly going back to center, bringing people back to center by reminding everyone that, hey, you said this was important. Here's where we are with this. So you're doing not just pulse checks and time checks, but you're reminding them as to why they engage with you and what the course was supposed to be. Not that you can't change, but that part of keeping and maintaining that relationship is part of that sales process and part of making sure that you're on track. So bring them back to center. And Monovan does that all the time. Lanyap, I know we do it. And Andrea, we've talked about how you've had to circle back and reset the table before with your clients. So it's not a problem for you to do that. Make sure that you do it. It's actually healthy because that keeps them in a space of being happy with who you are and the relationship that you have. And it resets the table and brings them back and takes them off that detour place that they were going in. So, not a bad thing for you to incorporate in your practices.
Thank you for that add-on, for sure. And that takes us to point number 6, how to outsource for your digital marketing for your business, right? And I think I want to take this from the point of view and going back to some of the things we just said about making sure that it's a successful engagement. So when we say how to outsource, we all know at this point, well, yes, we're going to look at, what's this agency's record? How do they do things? What are they in? But there are some things we need to consider. How, and when we outsource, what should you, the business, consider? And this is where we get to being clear on your expectations. This is exactly where we get it. Being very clear on your expectations, being very clear on your desired outcomes, right? And you may want to look at this from a higher level in your business. So your expected outcomes may not simply be more visibility or engagement. It may be, I want to have 2 more dedicated staff that are trained to do these things in digital marketing. I want to have my sales team enabled to do these things. So when you're outsourcing, you want to make sure, and I'm going to go around the room with this one. I really had Michelle and Andre, but we're going to go around the room with this one. I know we're close to time, but you want to make sure that those expectations are clear. You're communicating them clearly. As we mentioned, how does this agency fit into your team operationally, right? What's that feedback loop? Do you have complete buy-in from your company? Or are you going back for reference? And is that the type of engagement it is? So I won't talk anymore. Let's go around the room and see what we think.
Oh, I think a lot of this comes with your discovery questions on both sides. You know, when you're doing the dating process and you're feeling each other out, those components need to be part of that so that you're clear on what you need. And as you're getting feedback, is there something that they placed on the table that's either educated you or made you say, well, maybe and my expectation was incorrect in what I was seeking, and recalibrate who you are and what you need. So that's part of the discovery process to me. That's pre-sale, not a post-sale and implementation activity. If you're doing that post-sale and it didn't define that on the front end, I think we have more problems that on both sides should have been resolved prior to the engagement and that contract being signed and money changing hands.
You know, I want to touch on the point that you said, Michael, is if your team is ready for this, right? Understanding how they integrate with the team. Because especially for the solopreneurs and the small businesses, where the team is probably just maybe one other person besides themselves, you really have to question, make sure that bringing on the agency could work with your structure. Because if you don't have the bandwidth, because as you said, Michael, you talked about having somebody dedicated to be able to manage. If you don't have if your structure cannot take it, then it could make the process, it could do damage to the process, because then that will impact the results. If you're unable to have that dedicated person or time, because a resource could be time as well. If you are the business owner unable to say, yes, every week we will meet for 2 hours, or every 2 weeks we meet for 2 hours, and I give you my full attention and I do what you ask me to do, that could, that could really derail things. So I think you really have to ask yourself within first, can this agency work with the structure that I currently have, whether it's by myself or whether it's just one other person?
Absolutely.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think that comes back to also why we want to really look at, from an agency standpoint, who the target is, right? So when we're targeting, we're definitely looking at those small businesses that are ready for this, that are ready to scale. If you are a one-man show, you may not be ready for an agency, right? But that's why we want to make sure we're talking to CFOs and CMOs and the executive team who said, we have the money because we cannot convince people, right? When I started Monovan Digital, I definitely did a lot more convincing of the people. When people are looking for you, that's how digital works best. When they're looking for your solution because they're like, I want this to happen. So I talk to solopreneurs all the time separately, but in an agency instance, it's like that person has to be searching for this and want this, because there's a barrier if they don't want or need this. So I think it's really important in this show when we're talking that we're saying, hey, are they the right people for us? It comes back to that target again. And the right target will be, you're still going to have to educate them. You're still going to have to move them through a process of understanding the KPIs, but they're going to be ready for it. And I think that's where the differences do lie.
My gosh, it's only Monday, y'all. What are you setting up for Wednesday? Oh my goodness. What? So that rounds us up at the top of it. How much does outsourcing cost? And that's always the question, how much is this going to cost me? And I'm tempted to answer and say it's going to cost what it's going to cost. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. It depends on where your business is at. It depends on the level of engagement that that engagement with the agency. Can you do a industry-wide look and see, well, typically what gets charged by specific specialty? Absolutely. But does this give you a real benchmark? Not necessarily. Agencies, as Tamara clearly outlined, the different types of agencies, pricing also runs very differently between agencies. So with a boutique agency, when we're coming in and looking exactly at what are the specific needs for your business, that's one specific cost. But if you're coming to us to say, listen, we just want to do Google ads for this period of time toward these products, that's a different cost. So be prepared for the cost, but be more prepared to expand on what you're paying for. I always want to be clear on what is it you're paying for. What can happen is that you realize that, listen, this is a great extension of our team. This agency is a great extension. And actually, because of the education, because of the learnings I've gotten, I actually feel it's better to remain with this agency and leave them doing some things where I may have started off saying this was a temporary engagement. This was to put me in a position where I could take myself forward. But now I'm seeing the benefits. I'm like, nope, leave Monovan, let them do what they're doing, right? So, Andrea, I'm going to let you chime in on this last one about that flexibility and cost.
So definitely, when we say cost, we look in cost benefit analysis, right? In terms of, you can't just say, well, how much does it cost? And then if the price is high, you cringe. You have to look at, well, what are you getting for that cost? Obviously, if you go the route of a cheaper, and when I say cheaper, meaning if the people are not, they're a mass agency maybe, so they have economies of scale, so they just hand you a one and done package. Or if you go the route of, as you say, a boutique agency that's customizing, that's going to cost more money. So if you want to think about it, think about when you need to buy a cake. I always like to use cake examples, right? My best friend is a baker, so I always find it's very easy to do, right? Think about if you go and you buy the cake in the grocery, right? And you look at all the pre-made cakes on the grocery. They're very simple, sponge vanilla with whatever frosting, no fanciness. That price versus if you go to your custom baker to make a custom cake with custom ingredients, with custom fondant, you can't compare the two, right? and fancy icing and fancy decorations, right? You can't compare the two. But at the end of the day, are they both cakes? Yes, they are. But what is the benefit that you are getting, right? If it is you're looking for something for a special occasion, you're looking for something of value, you go the route of the customizing. And if you're just looking for a simple solution, you run in the grocery and you just pick up one. So really ask yourself, what is the cost benefit? What are you getting? And if you know that you are ready for something of a high quality and you're ready for something that's going to involve a lot of work, then you're going to have to be prepared to pay. If you just want somebody to pelt out some social media posts, well, that's fine. Nothing is wrong with that. You'll have a lower cost to pay. So yeah, this is it's a tough one. It depends.
It costs
I
what
have
it
so many
costs.
opinions. Can I make one fast? I know
Go for
we're
it.
at time. Make one fast. From a sales perspective, what I would say is that this is a revenue generating relationship. And when you are trying to plan out your strategies, this is a dependency for you achieving that strategy and making that money. So it's easy to understand and to think of it as an expense, but this is actually a revenue generating line item for your business. Embrace it, think of it that way, and it is depend in order for you to achieve that end dollar value that you're seeking, and not just top line revenue but flow through. This is dependent. This is a dependency. I need this to make that happen. And this is sales girl talking this way. So
100%. Quick add, the price is the price, as Michael said, right? If you are ready to grow the business in that realm, you understand what you're paying for. I love the cake. It's either cake or cars with you guys. Right? That's what I was saying. I was like, is a car too? But that's exactly what it is, right? You have to be, if you're paying for customization, if you're paying for someone to come in and look at what you've been doing, build an assessment around you, do the market research online, understand the market share online, understand the nuances, the digital infrastructure, setting up your automations, all the things that you have not considered because that's just not what you do. That customization comes with a cost, and it's not just a cost because you're paying it to just pay it, but as Michelle said, it's the ROI. And as business owners, we understand investment for that ROI, and digital investing in your digital is where you need to be. If it's structure, if it's the campaigns, if it's training your teams, because we're in the stage of digital transformation. This is the digital revolution. You have no choice. You will be left behind, and it will cost you more in the long run.
Oh my word. Mia, thanks for being with us. Mia's giving us our time checks. We got a time check. But this was a great discussion. Thank you everyone for listening in. Tamar, before I pass it back to you to wrap up, I'm going to answer the last question. What is a great marketing agency to work with? Well, guess what? Monovan Digital, right? And here's why. We are a boutique agency, and we believe that the customer is at the center of all your marketing efforts. We have a very personable team, and we like to work in all sorts of industries and get to know what your challenges are and help you overcome them through digital. Tamara, I'll pass it back to you, but this was a great discussion. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Andrea. Great input from everyone. I didn't think I'd cause this much drama this morning on a Monday morning, but you all bit in. Thank you.
So, ladies, let's give them a round of applause for managing us. You know, that can't be easy, but you did an awesome job. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is your business in digital, right? So, this is the show where we talk to you about how to be effective with your digital, where we teach you, the executive team, all the stakeholders, how to work with an agency, what are the things you should be looking for, how to achieve your business goals through digital. We teach you what's important for you to know. So, listen to us, connect with us on YouTube, connect with us on LinkedIn at Your Business in Digital. And the other thing is we've done is we put this video podcast everywhere podcasts are found. So connect with us on all those places: Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We are there. Listen to us. We are here Monday and Wednesday at 7 a.m. and Friday Michael shows up at noon to do the wrap up. So definitely check out this show. Connect with us. Super excited to always do this show with you guys. This was an awesome show. It's just like the customer. It's like the customer behavior show. We're all like, ha, 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 ha. So the other thing we do really well here at Your Business in Digital is we bring all the right players together, right? So we have sales in the building, we have marketing in the building, we have operations, and we have finance, because those are the key stakeholders of every small enterprise, every medium business, every small business. This is how you should be thinking about it. These are the players that should come to the table when you're looking at your digital efforts, because they have a lot to say and a lot to bring so that you can really help to get to those business goals. So thank you so much for joining us. Have an amazing Monday. We will catch up with you guys on Wednesday. Take care. Bye.